Thanks very much, Sakina. And that party is the Good Party. Apparently, it's not faring too well. It's allegedly drowning in debt after its first election campaign in May. Reports say party leader Patricia de Lille is on a mission to straighten up the party's National Leadership Committee, 7 months after she announced her team. Earlier, the party said its leadership committee needed to be relooked. But joining us now to give us a little bit more clarity on the issue in our parliamentary studio is Brett Herron, Good Secretary General. And Brett, good morning. Good to have you here on the programme.
Good morning, Leanne. Thank you.
Let's get your response to reports stating that your party is drowning in debt after the elections in May.
Well, Leanne, we have to remember that we launched the party in the middle of an election campaign. We announced the launch on the 2nd of December, but we were registered as a political party only on the 13th of February. So we had a campaign that was run on very few resources, mostly volunteers who assisted us. And we did end the campaign with debt. But I think it's an exaggeration to say that we are drowning in debt. We have some election debt, and we are fundraising to settle it. And you haven't heard any of our creditors complain. So I think you can take it that we have our debt under control.
So you dispute all reports that there is a financial crisis happening in Good?
There's no financial crisis in Good. The complaints that have arisen by some people is that the financial statements for the election campaign have not yet been presented to the National Leadership Committee. And that was the National Treasurer's responsibility. At the beginning of August, we had a National Leadership strategic meeting, and it was agreed that the financials would be presented by the National Treasurer by the end of August, working with our auditor, and then she resigned a week later. So the financials will be presented, and the auditor's working on them without the National Treasurer, which is currently a vacant position.
Which is quite strange, because the former interim National Treasurer, Hawkwind Amore, I mean, she resigned from the party, as we know, and you mentioning that particular position is open. And according to reports, she stated that she was left in the dark about Good's finances. I mean, she goes on to say that she left because even though she was expected to handle the party's finances, she had no clue how these were run. And these are strange comments coming from a National Treasurer.
Well, it's a very strange comment to us, because the message that she sent to us on the National Management Committee was that she was resigning because she needed to look for a full-time employment and she couldn't dedicate time to politics and her need to find employment. The narrative changed 2 or 3 days after that message to one that she wasn't able to access the finances, which, as I said, is nonsense, because she was responsible for the finances. She had direct access to the auditors who were preparing the financial statements. And as I said, at that national strategy meeting, which she attended, she agreed that she would finalize with the auditor the financials by the end of this month. So I'm not sure what she was attempting to achieve and why her story changed, but it's not true that she had no access to the financial records.
How transparent is Good with regard to your party funding? Are you able to tell us how the party is doing financially?
Well, what I can tell you is that, as I did say, we ended the election campaign with a debt. And we're fundraising and settling that debt. Our creditors are not complaining because we have a plan with them as to how we're settling our debt. We survived. We managed, I think, to some extent to kind of outpunch our financial muscle in the election campaign. We were one of the only small or new parties that managed to secure seats in any legislature. So I think we did very well based on very few resources. And we are preparing now to settle that debt so that we can start building a war chest for the 2021 local government elections.
Yeah, you know, I suppose one does need to look at what some of your members are saying, and you know, this is where information is coming out. We're saying that there is an absolute lack of transparency with regard to the running of Good, and that, you know, members within the party don't even know what's going on. You also saying that the party's National Leadership Committee needs to be relooked at. Where are you going with this? What are the reasons for that?
So, I mean, first of all, the idea that people don't know what's going on is a difficult one to accept, because there's a very clear mandate throughout the party that what we need our members and activists to be doing right now is to establish branches. Our constitution provided for an interim leadership to take us through the elections, but clearly articulated in that constitution was that as soon as the elections were over, both traditional and digital branches needed to be established, and that's what our activists and members are currently doing across the country. So the focus right now is on establishing branches, so that we have legitimately elected leaders at local ward levels across the country. And that will allow those legitimately elected structures to articulate to the next level of structure and ultimately to a national conference where we will elect our national leadership. So that's the focus right now, is to put in place the structures so that we can have an elected leadership throughout the party from ward level to national level.
In terms of your leader, Patricia de Lille, being a minister, being the leader of the party, what direction do you have? I mean, has this enhanced the party, or do you find that this has actually brought the party a little bit into more difficulties because, maybe the leader's eye is not necessarily on the party and rather on her ministerial post?
Well, I mean, we have to start off with that Patricia de Lille being appointed a minister was never on our horizon. So it was not part of our strategic plan for how we were going to approach post-2019 elections. But certainly the opportunity to serve our country and to do so with the portfolio that she's been asked to lead is an opportunity for Good to demonstrate what it means when we talk about spatial justice, given that Patricia is now the custodian on behalf of South Africans of the property assets of our country. So we see it as an opportunity. It did obviously cause us some need to change our strategy because it was not part of our plan. But I think that we are on track following our August strategy meeting to contest the 2021 elections robustly and to with Patricia still as our leader, demonstrating what it means to put the good values and good policies into practice.
All right, we'll leave it there, Brett. Thanks so much for talking to us. It is 8 o'clock, so unfortunately we need to get to the news, but we'll check in with you, see how things are going. That was the Good Secretary General, Brett Herron, talking to us about allegations that the party is currently drowning in debt, and this after two quite high-profile resignations also hitting that party. All right, let's get into your news bulletin.